In the digital shadows of a long-forgotten online puzzle game, my life took a turn towards the unimaginable. Let's call me Jamie for the sake of this story. I'm a 25-year-old who thrives on solving the most intricate puzzles and mysteries that the internet has to offer. Little did I know, my passion would lead me into a real-life nightmare. For safety reasons, I've had to alter certain details, including names and locations, as the person behind my ordeal seems to be lurking in every corner of my digital footprint. My story begins on a seemingly innocuous forum dedicated to CipherQuest, a game renowned for its complexity and the tight-knit community that surrounds it. That's where Echo Riddle first messaged me, claiming we had crossed paths in an online escape room challenge. Their familiarity was comforting, and in a moment of camaraderie, I shared my contact information, thinking we could exchange tips and tricks. Echo Riddle's messages began innocently enough, with discussions about puzzle strategies and game lore. But it wasn't long before their messages took on a more personal tone, asking about my daily routines and expressing disappointment when I didn't reply immediately. Their interest in me was flattering at first, but it quickly became suffocating. I decided to distance myself, explaining that I needed to focus on my studies and would be less active online. Echo Riddle's response was a simple, understood, but the uneasy feeling lingered. I immersed myself in a new game to distract myself, but that's when the situation escalated. While exploring a virtual labyrinth, a character named Echo Riddle appeared. My screen name was not widely known, making it clear this was no coincidence. They directly messaged me saying, "Found you again, Jamie." A chill ran down my spine. I blocked them on all platforms and tightened my privacy settings, naively believing I could easily shake them off. However, the next morning, an email awaited me from an address I didn't recognize, with the subject line, "You can't hide." The message inside was a string of cryptic clues that left me both baffled and terrified. How they obtained my personal email, which I guarded like a treasure, was beyond me. I responded, warning Echo Riddle that I would take legal action if the harassment didn't stop. In response, I fortified my online presence, changing usernames and emails. But the peace was short-lived. A week later, a new message arrived in my freshly minted inbox, crafted in the form of a sinister poem that twisted my love for puzzles into a nightmare. It hinted at an obsession that went beyond the digital realm, chilling me to the core. I wasted no time contacting the authorities, but their hands were tied by the anonymity of the internet. They advised further precautions and promised to monitor the situation, but I felt exposed and vulnerable. The real terror began one evening when I returned home to find my apartment eerily silent. My phone rang, and seeing Dad on the caller ID, I answered eagerly, seeking comfort. Instead, silence greeted me, followed by a faint, distorted whisper that wasn't my father's voice. The call ended abruptly, leaving me in a state of panic. That night, the power to my apartment was cut. In the darkness, my phone's flashlight was a feeble beacon as I navigated towards safety. Then a window shattered downstairs. My heart raced as I hid, listening to the sounds of an intruder ransacking my home. Concealed in a secret alcove I'd prepared for emergencies, I held my breath as footsteps approached. The intruder's presence was overwhelming. I could hear their heavy breathing and the soft sound of fabric brushing against the walls. Time stretched into eternity until, finally, the intruder left, and I was alone with my fear. The aftermath was a blur of police sirens, flashing lights, and the cold touch of the night air as I was escorted outside. The investigation turned up few leads, Echo Riddle was a ghost in the machine, leaving no trace behind except for a cryptic note that spoke of an unbreakable bond we supposedly shared. Recovery has been a slow process. I'm constantly looking over my shoulder, jumping at shadows that seem to whisper Echo Riddle's name. This experience has left a permanent mark on me, a stark reminder of the dangers that can lurk behind the screen. I share my story not to incite fear, but to urge caution. The digital world is vast and often not what it seems. Stay safe, stay alert, and remember, not every puzzle is meant to be solved. As the weeks turned into months, the sense of normalcy began to seep back into my life, albeit slowly and cautiously. The digital world, once a realm of endless exploration and excitement, now felt like a landscape marred with invisible traps. I made a conscious effort to rebuild my presence online, this time with layers of anonymity and security measures that would make a cryptographer nod in approval. Despite the precautions, the echo of Echo Riddle never truly faded. Every unexpected notification, every unknown contact request carried a whisper of apprehension. It was during this time of tentative recovery that I decided to turn my ordeal into a force for good. If my story could serve as a cautionary tale, perhaps it could prevent others from falling into similar traps. I started a blog under a new alias, sharing my experiences and insights on online safety without revealing any identifying details. It became a platform not just for my voice, but for others who had encountered their own digital specters. The community that formed around the blog was both a surprise and a balm to the isolation I had felt. Then, on a seemingly ordinary Thursday, a comment appeared under one of my posts. It was cryptic, consisting of a series of numbers and letters that seemed random at first glance. But to someone familiar with Echo Riddle's penchant for puzzles, it was a clear signal. My heart froze as I deciphered the message. A shadow never dies. The police were notified once again, but this time I also reached out to a cybersecurity expert, a friend of a friend who had become a part of my small but trusted circle. Together, we traced the digital footprint of the comment back to a server in a country with lax cyber laws, a dead end for any legal action, but a starting point for our countermeasures. We fortified the blog with additional security protocols and began a subtle campaign to raise awareness about digital stalking, using my story as a catalyst without directly provoking my stalker. The blog evolved into a resource for online safety, featuring articles, workshops, and collaboration with cybersecurity experts. Parallel to these efforts, I took steps to strengthen my mental and emotional resilience. Counseling sessions, self-defense classes, and a newfound interest in meditation became part of my routine. The support from my family, friends, and the community I had built was invaluable, transforming my fear into determination. As life marched on, the specter of Echo Riddle became less pronounced, fading into the background noise of the digital age. Yet, the experience left its mark on me, a constant reminder of the fragility of our online existences. It taught me the importance of vigilance, the strength found in community, and the power of turning one's trials into a force for positive change. My journey from victim to advocate is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unseen dangers. It's a narrative I never expected to write for myself, but one that I embrace as part of my identity. In the digital age, where shadows lurk behind screens, my story is a beacon of hope and a call to action. To protect ourselves, to support each other, and to stand firm against the darkness. As my blog gained traction and my story began to inspire others to take their online security more seriously, I felt a sense of accomplishment that somewhat dulled the edge of my past traumas. The community that rallied around the cause was both a shield and a beacon, shining light on the dark corners of the internet where predators like Echo Riddle lurked. It was during this period of empowerment and collective action that the unexpected happened, twisting my narrative in a way I hadn't foreseen. One evening, as I sifted through emails from readers sharing their gratitude and stories, I stumbled upon a message that stood out for its sophistication and depth of understanding regarding cybersecurity. The sender, Cypher Sentinel, offered insights into potential vulnerabilities on my blog and suggested enhancements that were both ingenious and technically advanced. Intrigued and grateful, I replied, thanking them for their advice and engaging in a technical discussion that sparked a series of exchanges. Over time, Cypher Sentinel became a trusted consultant, helping to fortify the blog against potential threats, and even contributing guest posts that were well received by the community. Our correspondence, though professional and focused on cybersecurity, gradually developed a layer of camaraderie and mutual respect. It was a connection forged in the fires of adversity, a silver lining in the dark cloud that had loomed over my life. Months passed, and with Cypher Sentinel's help, the blog transformed into a fortress, a haven for those seeking refuge and knowledge about protecting themselves online. The specter of Echo Riddle seemed like a distant memory, a shadow vanquished by the light of awareness and collective vigilance. It was then that Cypher Sentinel suggested we meet in person to collaborate more closely on a project aimed at educating young people about online safety. The proposal was the culmination of our partnership, a chance to turn our digital alliance into a real-world force for change. We arranged to meet at a cybersecurity conference, a public setting that seemed fitting for our first face-to-face interaction. The day of the conference arrived, and I felt a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation, eager to finally meet the person who had become an unexpected ally in my journey. As I approached the designated meeting spot, my eyes searched the crowd for someone who matched the mental image I had constructed of Cypher Sentinel. Then, amidst the sea of faces, I saw someone familiar walking towards me, a smile of recognition spreading across their features. But it wasn't the friendly introduction I had envisioned. My heart stopped as realization dawned on me. The person standing before me, extending a hand in greeting, was none other than the person I had known as Echo Riddle. The world seemed to spin as the implications of this revelation crashed over me. Echo Riddle, the source of my nightmares, had ingeniously transformed into Cypher Sentinel, my trusted advisor and ally. The twist was a cruel irony. The predator had masqueraded as a protector, weaving themselves seamlessly into the fabric of my recovery and empowerment. As Echo Riddle, no, Cypher Sentinel, spoke, explaining the convoluted journey from stalker to silent guardian, my emotions were a whirlwind of betrayal, confusion, and a begrudging respect for the complexity of the human psyche. They described a path of redemption, spurred by the realization of the pain they had caused and the desire to make amends in the only way they knew how. The revelation forced me to confront the uncomfortable truth that people are capable of change, that the lines between friend and foe can sometimes blur into obscurity. As I stood there, listening to the person who had once been my greatest fear now pledging their support and allegiance, I realized that the story of Jamie and Echo Riddle was not one of simple victimhood and villainy, but a nuanced narrative of transformation, redemption, and the power of second chances. In the end, the blog continued to grow, now with an added layer of complexity to its origin story. It became a testament to the idea that understanding, forgiveness, and cautious trust can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances. And while the shadow of Echo Riddle would always linger in the background, it now served as a reminder of the intricate dance between light and darkness and the possibility of change in even the darkest of hearts. Thank you for listening to my channel. It means a lot to me.